Good afternoon, students. We'll discuss about the next topic in the magnetism. So last class we have learned about cyclotron. And the uses of cyclotron and the principle of cyclotron, construction and working. Today we are going to enter into the next topic, that is nothing but Biot-Savart law. Okay, so Biot-Savart law, otherwise called as what? Another form of Coulomb's law in magnetism. Okay, it is used to find out the magnetic field produced by a current carrying conductor in a particular point. That is the main important application of what? Biot-Savart law. So let us consider the current carrying conductor. Let me name it as this is XY. Here the current entering into the conductor is I. Let me take a small current element. The length of the current element, let me take it as dl, and you name it AB, and there is a point P. From the midpoint of the current element, the point P is at a distance R from what? The midpoint. And here we are going to take the current element vector, that is nothing but the tangent at the particular point. You can take that as dl vector, which makes an angle theta with a distance or displacement r. Okay, and assume that this is the next side, this is the negative side, this is the positive, it is connected like that, then only the current can enter through the given thing. Okay, so here the Biot and Savart says that the small magnetic field dP at the point here there is a magnetic field generated. That magnetic field only we are going to take it as dP. Why I am using dP now? Because of the small current element TL. So that is the reason it can be considered as dB. So the dB directly proportional to the strength of the current I, and the dB directly proportional to the length of the current element dl, and the dB directly proportional to the angle between the two dl and r, and the dB inversely proportional to the square of the distance r square. See here, the dB directly proportional to the current I, the dB directly proportional to the length of the magnetic element dl, and the dB directly proportional to the angle between the dl vector and r vector, and the dB inversely proportional to the square of the distance. Okay, so combined all the things, I can write it as dB is equal to k into I dl sin theta divided by r square. Correct? This is all directly proportional. I and dl and sin theta by r square. The k is the constant. Okay, the k will be equal to, k is equal to mu naught divided by 4 pi. The k can be written as mu naught divided by 4 pi. The mu naught is known as permeability. The mu naught is called as permeability. There we will be using epsilon naught in Coulomb's law. That is permittivity. Permittivity means the ability to allow the electric lines. Permeability means the ability to allow the magnetic lines. Okay, so mu naught by 4 pi. The mu naught value also given. Mu naught is equal to 4 pi into 10 power minus 7 Henry by meter divided by 4 pi. 4 pi and this 4 pi get cancelled. So the k value will be 10 power minus 7 by meter. So that is the value of k. It's a constant. Suppose for a medium, the value dB is equal to mu naught into mu r divided by 4 pi, okay, into ideal sin by r square. This also can be written as mu into ideal sin theta, mu by 4 pi into ideal sin theta by r square. The mu indicates permittivity of the medium. Mu naught indicates permittivity of the medium. That means you can write it as mu is equal to mu naught into mu r, or mu r is equal to mu by mu naught. Like what not epsilon r. Relative permittivity, here relative permeability. Relative permeability is equal to permeability of the medium by permeability of air. Okay, and the value of mu r is equal to 1 for air. For air, the value will be taken as what not 1. Understood, Nada? So this is called as Biot-Savart law. The Biot-Savart law similar to the Coulomb's law in electrostatics. Okay, it is similar to what not the Coulomb's law in electrostatics. So we could be able to calculate the magnetic field due to the current carrying conductor at a point P. That is the main use of what not this Biot-Savart law. Now, how do you write the Biot-Savart law in vector form? This is the normal way. Okay. How can you write the Biot-Savart law in vector form? So when you are writing in vector form, so you can write this as dB vector is equal to mu naught by 4 pi into ideal cross r cap divided by r square. Ideal vector cross r cap. Here r cap is a unit vector which has the value 1. So if you expand it, you will be getting theta mu naught by 4 pi into cross product. So you will be getting modulus of r cap into sin theta divided by r square. And you know that value is equal to 1. So you will be getting mu naught by 4 pi into ideal sin theta by r square, because the modulus this value will be equal to 1. Unit vector has the magnitude 1. So you will be getting mu naught by 4 pi into ideal sin theta by r square. This is the vector form for the Biot-Savart law. Okay. So now let us move on to the another way. Now this is one way. In the second way, it can be written as dB vector is equal to mu naught by 4 pi into ideal vector cross r vector divided by r cube. You see, if you are taking r cap, it is represented by r square. If you are taking r vector, it is represented by r cube. So dB vector is equal to mu naught by 4 pi into ideal vector cross r vector divided by r cube. dB vector is equal to mu naught by 4 pi into ideal vector cross r vector divided by r cube. So this is the formula for the magnetic field produced by a given thing. Understood, Nada? So it's a vector form for Biot-Savart law. Either you can write. So here also you see that if you expand that, what do you get? Mu naught by 4 pi ideal vector cross r vector. So you will be getting ideal into r into sin theta divided by r cube. So this r and this become r square. So you will be getting now mu naught by 4 pi into ideal sin theta divided by r square. So both the formulas are correct. Either you can write this way, ideal vector cross r cap by r square, or you can go with this way, mu naught by 4 pi into ideal sin theta divided by r square. Both explain about the Biot-Savart law in the correct manner. Sure? Okay. So next, let us move on to the comparison between the Coulomb's law and Biot-Savart law. So this is Coulomb's law, this is Biot-Savart law. First, let me take it as the similarities. What are the similarities between the Coulomb's law and Biot-Savart law? So Coulomb's law obeys the inverse square law. So this is also proportional to 1 by r square. Correct, na? The Biot-Savart law also proportional to 1 by r square. So both obeys the inverse square law. Second thing, both are long range. So this is also a long range, and this also can be considered as a long range force. Okay. The third thing, the Coulomb's law obeys the superposition principle. Similarly, the Biot-Savart law also obeys the superposition principle. So these are the similarities. See the similarities. First, this law directly proportional to r square, and Bayes-Out law also directly proportional to r square. Second thing, it is a long range. This is also a long range. Third, it obeys the superposition principle. This also obeys the superposition principle. These are the similarities of Bayes-Out. Next, let us go with the dissimilarities. What are the dissimilarities between the Coulomb's law and the Bayes-Out law? See, dissimilarities. What are the dissimilarities between the Coulomb's law and Bayes-Out law? Dissimilarities is here. Coulomb's law deals with the scalar quantities. Example, charge Q. Right now, but Bayes-Out law deals with what? Not vector quantities. Example, ideal vector, current element, and radius vector, r vector. Okay, it deals with the vector quantity. And second thing, Coulomb's law, theta is absent. There is no theta. But here or not, in the Bayes-Out law, theta is present. Example what na? In that, which one is coming? The sin theta will be coming. So that is a important application of what not a Bayes-Out law. And third thing, see first one, it's both, it's a scalar quantity, it's a vector quantity. Here theta is absent, here theta is present. That is nothing but what not a sin theta. Third thing, Coulomb's law, Coulomb's law deals about permittivity, Bayes-Out law deals about permeability. Okay, both are having the similarities. Okay, this gives the electric nature of the substance, this gives the magnetic nature of the substance. Okay, so these are the similarities and dissimilarities between the Coulomb's law and Bayes-Out law. Okay, the next we know that light is an electromagnetic wave. It is given by the Maxwell. Maxwell is a scientist who explained about what not the nature of what not a light as an electromagnetic wave. That means light has both electric nature as well as magnetic nature. How can we prove that? For that, there is a proof. The velocity of the light can be denoted by the formula C is equal to root of epsilon naught mu naught. The velocity of the light can be represented by the formula C is equal to root of epsilon naught mu naught. Okay, how can we prove that? So let us prove this. Okay, so for prove that, let me take epsilon naught mu naught here. So write the epsilon naught, and mu naught you know that 4 pi into 10 power minus 7. Okay, so this can be written as 10 power minus 7 divided by 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. Am I right? 10 returns 10 power minus 7 divided by 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. So now you know the value of 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. That already we have learned in electrostatics. There is nothing but 9 into 10 power 9. Now bring the 10 power minus 7 down. What will you get? 1 divided by 9 into 10 power 9 into 10 power plus 7. That is equal to 1 divided by 9 into 10 power 16. Okay, so 9 into 10 power 16 means that you can write as 3 into 10 power 8 the whole square. Am I right? 3 into 10 power 8 nothing but the velocity of light. So that can be written as 1 by c square. So c square is equal to 1 by epsilon naught mu naught. So c is equal to 1 divided by root of epsilon naught mu naught. That is the proof we want to prove here. So the velocity of light can also be written as 1 by root of epsilon naught mu naught. That is nothing but by velocity of light. That is nothing but velocity of light. That means the light has radial nature. Light has electromagnetic nature. That means it has electric property as well as magnetic property. That we can able to prove here. There is an application explained in your syllabus. That is nothing but finding the magnetic field along the axial line of the circular loop. Finding the magnetic field along the axial line magnetic field, okay, along the axial line of the circular coil or circular loop. Okay, da. So let me take, this is a circular loop. This is the circular loop. This is the midpoint O. This is the radius of the circular loop A. Let me take a small current element A and here B. Diagrammatically opposite there is one more current element. Let me assume that is A dash B dash. The midpoint you take it as C. Here the midpoint is not a C dash. So this is the axial line. Let me take a point E at a distance x from the center of the given thing. So x is the distance between the point O and P. Okay. At the point, due to the current element of the coil, we are going to find out the magnetic field. So from the current element, let me connect the point P. That distance we can take it as R. And there is an angle formed. That angle you can take it as alpha. And see here so consider this as or not the current circular loop. Assume that this is the circular loop. Okay. And here, see here, this is a circular loop. The circular loop I am going to keep what not in this manner now. Okay. So here, this from here to here, I can take it as or not the current element AB. So the midpoint will be at this point. So the tangent acting towards this direction. See, this will be the tangent. Correct? No? From the loop this way, the tangent will be acting. Understood now? This is the distance. Or na? This we can cover from the center point to here. We can take as distance as x. From here to here, the distance will be what not r. So this is the distance r, and this is what not that dl vector. So the angle between dl and r is always 90 degree. It cannot be shown in the diagram, but you can take this way. This will be the dl vector, and this is the angle. That angle I can take it as 90 degree. So the angle between the dl vector and that means theta. This you can take it as what? Theta. So theta is equal to 90 degree. Now, the magnetic field acting at this particular point can be perpendicular to this thing because we know the formula dB vector is equal to k into ideal vector cross r vector divided by r cube. Correct na? Ideal vector cross r vector divided by r cube. That means the dP will be perpendicular to the current element, and the dP will be perpendicular to the radius vector. So the radius distance vector. So the distance will be displacement vector. The displacement will be acting over here. So the dP will be perpendicular to both. That means again this angle you can take it as how much? 90 degree. Now let me go for the axis. And this angle is alpha means again this angle also alpha. And let me take one that is nothing but diametrically opposite element. That also there is a magnetic field that will be acting towards this direction. That also I can take it as dB vector, and this angle also will be alpha. So again this angle can also be taken as what? Alpha. Sure. Now the dB makes an angle alpha here, so this component can be taken as dB cos alpha. Where it makes an angle alpha, that will be that. Similarly, this dB also makes an angle alpha here, so that also we can take it as dB cos alpha, and this will be dB sin alpha. Due to this component also, the dB sin alpha will be acting there. Because first dB is in the first quadrant, so we can resolve into two components. Second dB in the fourth quadrant, that also will be resolved into two components. Here the dB cos alpha components are acting in the opposite direction, having the same magnitude, so they cancel each other. So the net will be nothing but all the dB sin alpha. In the circular coil, for every point there is a diagrammatically opposite point. Correct, Nada? For every point there is a diametrically opposite point. So all the cos component will be cancelled. Only we can take the sine components. Only we can take sign component. So the net magnetic field produced at a point can be calculated. B is equal to integration of sin alpha. Okay, integration of dB sin alpha. That can be taken as integration of dB value. You know that is nothing but mu naught by 4 ideal sin theta into sin alpha divided by r square. This is the dP value. Here the theta value, you know that the theta is equal to how much? 90 degrees. So substitute as sin 90. The sin 90 will become 1. So the remaining will be, you will be getting mu naught by 4 pi I constant, sin alpha constant, r square constant. You will be getting integration of dl. So we are going to integrate the length. So integration of length means you have to take the limit as the circumference. So 0 to 2 pi a. A is the radius, so the circumference of that is 0 to 2 pi a. So if you integrate, you will be getting mu naught by 4 pi into I sin alpha by r square into L. The limit will be 0 to 2 pi a. Now substitute the limit, you will be getting mu naught by 4 pi I into sin alpha by r square into L. You can write this out under 2 pi a minus 0. So that is equal to mu naught by 4 pi I sin alpha by r square into 2 pi a. So this 2 pi and 4 pi it will become 2. So the remaining what will be there? You will be getting that as mu naught by 2 into I sin alpha by r square. Now let me take in the triangle POC. In the triangle POC, you take sin alpha to opposite side divided by hypotenuse. So that is nothing but a by r. Now substitute the values. You will be getting mu naught by 2 I by r square into a by r. So you will be getting that as mu naught IA divided by, oh sorry, here already one A is missing, here one A is there, so there also IA. So you will be getting one IA square into 2 into r cube. Into r cube. Now mu naught IA square divided by 2 into r cube. From the triangle POC, you will be getting r square is equal to a square plus x square, and r is equal to a square plus x square the whole power 1 by 2. Now substitute the r value in the equation. You will be getting b is equal to mu naught I a square divided by 2 into, instead of r cube you can write as a square plus x square the whole power 1 by 2 is there, and here cube. If you substitute in that, you will be getting mu naught I a square divided by 2 into a square plus x square the whole power 3 by 2. Suppose for n turns, what will be getting there? For n turns, b is equal to mu naught I a square into n divided by 2 into a square plus x square the whole power 3 by 2. So this is the formula for the magnetic field along the axial line of the circular coil. Okay, there is a special case. There is a special case. So in the special case, we are going to take at the center. At the center, the value of x will be equal to 0. At the center, the value of x is equal to 0. Then the formula will become b is equal to mu naught ni a square divided by 2 into square plus x square, you can take it as 0 square the whole power 3 by 2. That is equal to mu naught ni a square divided by 2 into a square the whole power 3 by 2. So this 2 get cancelled. Then remaining what will be there? Mu naught ni a square divided by 2aq. So this a square and this get cancelled. So mu ni divided by 2a, that is the magnetic field produced by a circular coil at the center of the loop. Mu naught ni divided by 2a, where mu naught is the n is the number of turns, a is the radius of the coil. Okay, so let us finish it. The next one is the Ampere circuit law that we will be discussed in the next class. Thank you.